Okay, how are you? Can you hear me?
I'm doing, yeah, I can hear you guys fine now. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Well, hey, now I know you're down there by, is that Georgia? You're in the southeast corner of Georgia near the Florida. Is that where you are?
I'm about 50 minutes from the Florida border. I'm about an hour from Jacksonville, which you mentioned last night. I'm about 10 minutes from Sea Island, 15 minutes from Jekyll Island, which we discussed last night.
Jekyll Island. Yeah, well, you know, we might be going to Jekyll Island to do an audit of the Fed. So,
it's funny. Let's listen to this, guys, real quick as an aside. If you go to the Jekyll Island Club Hotel, which is not where the Fed was chartered, it's just a museum. The Fed was actually chartered at one of J.P. Morgan's estates. Right. But if you go to the Jekyll Island Club Hotel, they have a conference room that's dedicated to the sort of inception of the Federal Reserve, right? And so they have all these pictures up on the wall. You got your Warburgs, you got your, and Warburg, of course, was the Rothschild agent at the meeting.
Sure. We had one Warburg on each side of the Atlantic, didn't we?
Yeah, we got Paul and James.
Yeah, there you go.
But so here's the deal. One thing that you curiously will not see up on the wall is a picture of Rockefeller.
Yeah, of course.
And that's just a great example of how our history is skewed.
Didn't Rockefeller order all images of him, like that, kind of withdrawn to the private, stricken from the record? Well,
that is correct. That was done in the mid 20th century.
Because I'm from Cleveland, and he had a beautiful mansion on Millionaire's Row that he had destroyed upon his death.
Right.
Just so people couldn't ever, whatever.
Deface it, right.
Yeah, and then there was this reporter, obviously, you probably know Ida Tarbell.
I do. Muckraker Supreme.
Yeah, and she's like, well, hey, I know why he was such a great businessman. He kept blowing up his competitors' oil refineries.
Well, see, that's kind of what the CIA started as, was corporate espionage.
Yeah, right. People United Fruit. Yeah.
And so, don't even get me started on the United Fruit thing.
Yeah.
But
well,
people know that I reached out. Did you guys want me? Because Sea Island. Here's the deal about Sea Island. It's a very exclusive, membership only. My girlfriend, though, her grandfather is a very wealthy gentleman, and he can get all access 1-day passes to the actual island. And so, if you guys would be interested in that, I'd be happy to oblige.
I think we should do that. We're right now just planning our whole next couple days as far as heading to Jacksonville. We're going to do Tampa, Jacksonville, and then maybe
Jacksonville's kind of a shithole, guys.
No, I know, but we're there.
You got to go down
on vacation. We're there to check out the Mayo Clinic, the docks, and the organ harvesting and all that stuff.
So you guys are going to look at all the cars coming in at the ports and stuff?
Yeah, well, that's over in like Sampson or something, or what was the name of the place where that is? Sampson, right? Yeah, Sanford.
Let me give you guys a quick tip, though.
That's it.
I was way off.
Exactly.
Listen, guys. Let me give you a quick tip. So the city that sits in between St. Simon's Island and Sea Island, St. Simon's being my hometown, Sea Island being right across the way, 10-minute drive. There's a town called Brunswick, Georgia, and the port of Brunswick is up there with the top 3 largest in the United States.
Really?
So George, go ahead and do a little digging on the port of Brunswick.
Wow.
What you see when you're driving down the road in these rural areas in Brunswick, you'll see these giant fields with nothing but automobiles, and they have that white cover over the top to protect from sun damage. And so there's a lot of cars coming in the port of Brunswick.
Right.
And so, but no, the reason I messaged Jason earlier is because I was a bit concerned. I work for a local newspaper out of Jacksonville.
Right.
And we were actually down at Sea Island this morning. We were invited by representatives from HSBC. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's a Chinese bank.
Yes, we are. Sure.
And
the new BCC. and the private branch bank in Geneva. Don't forget about that.
The way, you're right about that, George. And the way that I view HSBC is kind of like the rebranding of Bank of Credit Commerce International, which is BCCI.
BCCI Mark Rich too.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And you know, as we were leaving, I noticed a young lady and her colleague. You know, they're all very well dressed. They had the grapes and the cheese out on the table, and as everybody started to clear out the room, I was packing up my camera gear, my audio gear, and I hear this lady who's obviously one of the higher ups at HSBC, and she said to the guy, she said, "Have you been following this George Webb gentleman and this Jason Goodman guy? It's 2 separate channels on YouTube, but have you seen this?" And the guy's face lit up, and he said, "Yeah, that's going to be," quote, "that's going to be a major thorn in our side going forward. We need to talk about that further."
Really? That's nice. When you get,
I don't know what he meant by that. I know there's bits of raw intel that you know that you're not at liberty to pass off, but I wanted you to be aware of that you have 2 higher level HSBC. They don't just ship anybody down to Sea Island, mind you.
Right.
So,
I told Jason, I said, if they do hire a sniper, I hope they only take out one, and that way the other one gets it on film. Yeah.
You guys have got so many journalistic accolades headed your way. I'm so happy to be in on this.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, no, it's good. Normally they need SEALs with those synchronized guns to get both of you on the first shot. And so I've told Jason, usually they're going to go for the guy with a bigger head. and I present a fairly large target. It'd be hard to miss that.
Guys.
Are you talking literally or figuratively? Well, both.
I wouldn't talk so much about snipers.
That would be a pretty bad shot.
I wouldn't talk so much about snipers on the live show because you're going to get those trolls that, inevitably the Coriolis effect is going to be brought up, and the autistic screeching from the flat Earth community is going to be unbearable.
Yeah. So you've got intel pertaining to HSBC and their
and Raytheon.
And Raytheon, yes, which was just in WikiLeaks only a few days ago, and their interest in what we've been doing.
Right. So I'd be happy to, and you don't even have to obscure my voice, Jason. I'm not.
Okay.
After you did what you did with what big eyes you have, she sounds just like my grandmother from South Georgia.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
okay. What else do we want to talk about, George? I think that's really it. I think just, shining a light. Half the battle is just doing the work and shining a light. And then the crowd can go to work. But the problem with journalism is everybody's repeating, the 28th interview of Jeb Bush, today, or whatever hits the news wire. And Andrew Breitbart used to say, I don't want to be the guy who does the 29th George Bush interview. I want to shine a light, and it's hard to shine a light if I, make it.
George, real quick before you run, George, what would be your explanation for why? Because no one was talking about OBL back in 1998, 1999. What would be your explanation as to why Donald Trump or his ghostwriter at his beck and call would have known to finger that?
Well, I hate saying this, and I'll just say it, to you. But Ehud Barak, he knew way too much. He knew way too much about 9/11 before it happened.
Right.
Almost like he wrote the plan. And George, well, I don't like to talk about this because everybody's going to say. I haven't heard you say it. So let's hear
it. You go back to the bombing in '93 with Ahmad Salem, right?
Yeah.
Where the FBI replaced the fake bomb with the real bomb. Do you really do you really expect me to believe that Ahmad Salem wasn't working with them on a much higher level?
Yeah. Well, Bill Clinton signed this thing in 1998 called Disruption, and Presidential Decision Directive 62, which called for the CIA to work with the FBI on disruption. And
that's true.
That was it. That's all they said.
True.
So one of the plans that came out of it in 99 was Ehud Barak writing a plan to do a more colorful version of the '93 bombing. So is that
You're right, Jason.
On operation with Mossad? Yeah, it is. It is.
Hey, now, George, are you familiar with what I'm going to call the Angel is Next threat?
Say again.
I'm asking. This is a question for George. I know George is a pretty in-depth 9/11 researcher. George, are you familiar with what I'm going to call the Angel is Next threat?
No, I am not a 9/11 guy. The only thing I know is the Hoods relationship in the planning. I don't know. I go way more in depth on 9/11 than George. Yeah. I don't want to know.
Jason, when you get home, if you haven't already, I want you to go into YouTube and type in "Angel is Next." Okay. It completely changes. I don't claim to know what happened that day. I'm a big time 9/11 researcher. I'm an encyclopedia. But it points more to George W. Bush knowing something was going to happen, but being unaware when it did happen. And the Angel is Next phone call that they received above Air Force One basically told Bush, you either go on TV, say Bin Laden, say Al-Qaeda, or you could be liquidated at any time.
Right.
It makes it into more of a military coup.
Was it Dick Cheney making the phone call?
Dick Cheney might as well have been, and it was sitting there with the plunger. Dick Cheney was our president for 8 years.
Of course.
So
of course.
Anyway, guys, any way that I can help.
Came from.
I think he's had two.
Well, let's find out where both. I know one was Nazi Zudi at OKC, but I don't know.
Well, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened on one of those boats George was talking about a while back.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, a lot of times these things are very compartmentalized, and you don't know who does all what, and you only get to see a sliver. But
the left hand never knows what the right hand's doing.
That's right, but it's not like that. It's like cut into 100 pieces, and you only know. It's like you just took a picture in the flow chart. At the end of the meeting, they say, "Okay, who cuts this?" And the cutter is the guy who slices it into 12 pieces or 80 pieces or 50 or this kind of an op would be cut into 100 pieces. And you only know one piece of the op. And George, this is my journalist coming out in me a bit, I think. But how do you feel about your vernacular, your use of phrases like school play, breaking into the mainstream and being used completely out of context by people? Well, I think it's more appropriate because the word conspiracy theory was contrived, right? Well, it was weaponized in 1963.
Exactly.
Yeah, but really, all these things are because of the public and journalists are so late. I'm going to just say lazy. I'm not the public. The public doesn't have a responsibility. But journalists have a responsibility as a fifth, estate, right? Or it used to be the fourth estate. Yeah, from the old speech of Edmund Burke or whoever that was. What we're doing is the fifth estate. Yeah, the fifth estate is citizens, but the fourth estate used to be, you gentlemen in the gallery, you are the fourth estate.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. In my newsroom, I can't speak for other newsrooms. Journalistic integrity is out the window. It is outright propaganda. We are told what to report on. We are told how to report on it. There's no investigative work. There's no opinion pieces. It's nothing. It's garbage. It's a business.
Yeah. Well, it is. That ad guy is going to, is going to walk in the newsroom every once in a while and go, "Geez, guys, it's a little slow. You aren't writing very many exciting stories. Can we put a few more?" pictures of dogs and hot girls in bikinis. Exactly. You open any web page and you're inundated with way more ads than you are news. It's also near news, which is like what I'm talking about. There's these production factories that just push out dog stories or bikini stories, and it's dogs in bikinis. Yeah. It's
like
BuzzFeed. Girl hot on a hot summer day illegally. Loosened the fire hydrant on 32nd Avenue and her dog got wet. That's news.
Look, guys, I think that you're going to rise to very positive recognition soon. People like, and I mentioned HA to George last night. HA is biting his tongue right now big time. I spoke to Mike Lionel. I spoke to him a few days ago. He's a good contact of mine, and he absolutely adores you guys.
Lionel's
right.
Great.
He's a bit of a mentor of mine in the news biz, and he had nothing but just glowing things to say about the two of you.
It's really kind of him. We really, really admire Lionel. Well, I said to Lionel, he goes, we were doing the interview, which still hasn't been cut yet. Oh,
Jason, what the hell are you doing, buddy?
Wait a minute. I'm getting pushed out the car. Who was wasting hours? No, I'm kidding. I am so kidding. Jason works 20 hours a day, and then he finally just collapses, right? Well, then I don't get to have breakfast until 11. Oh, he's going to mention about that. Okay. So, bottom line, I got off of what I was going to say. What? Lionel, you were talking about? Oh, yeah, Lionel. I asked him, he says, Clockwork Orange. What the heck were you talking about?
Yellow and red.
Anthony Burgess wrote that. You know that, right? And
I do.
Well, no, that's what he says to me. And I said, there's a really good reason why I said that to Steve Pachetic, because he's done a lot of Clockwork Oranges. The title of the book is A Clockwork Orange. I didn't say Steve Pachetic wrote a Clockwork Orange. I said he wrote many.
Right.
So that's. I want to add something to that, though, Brunswick, because you see, even someone as intellectual as Lionel, and he's one of the smartest guys in broadcasting.
Either that, or he has a very good lexicon of vocabulary, and he hides it.
Well, both. But I mean, Lionel is obviously thinking at a very high level, very analytical, very intelligent. He's got a
lot of gears turning.
He's got an incredible vocabulary. He's just unbelievably eloquent. All of that. But you see, the way that George speaks, it's coded. It's coded in humor. It's coded in esoteric facts. It's coded in all kinds of ways.
Well, George, cover your ears for a second. Jason, the man operates on an almost savant-like level.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. And that's why one of the most astonishing moments in this whole journey to me, and it's evident in the look on George's face, when we were recording the video called Is It Real or Is This Real, where Julian Assange had tweeted about Nadra and Imran and all of the people who are involved in this whole thing. And it was like a message from Julian Assange to George, coded in a tweet, coded in the language between all these people. It was just amazing.
3 layers to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, there's so many layers. It's like the biggest onion you've ever seen. And then just yesterday, when Imran's stupid lawyer, whoever that is, who wouldn't tell me his name and then was astonished that I didn't know his name, when he put out a press release claiming that the Pizzagate news has something to do with Imran Awan owning 12 homes, 28 businesses, committing bank fraud, threatening his stepmother, committing all kinds of fraud all over the place. That guy's trying to stick Pizzagate into this. We now realize, after all the months of people giving George crap for not talking about Pizzagate, people are now finally starting to understand why George didn't want to talk about that. It's not because he doesn't think that pedophilia is a real and actual problem.
Oh, that's provable.
He's laser beam focused on this story of a spy ring in Congress, this story of the top level, the 111th division of the Pakistani ISI, the most sophisticated elements of Pakistan's secret intelligence, their CIA, infiltrating Congress and working with people like Debbie Wasserman.
Jason, you're 1,000% right. In addition to that, why has it never been investigated that $200,000 or whatever was wired to the lead hijacker of 9/11 just prior to the attack by an ISI official?
Well, Brunswick never ain't over yet. Well, yeah, I did a video in front of that mosque where Al-Awlaki, I think, started the whole spiel. But but I kept away from 9/11, and as I said, that part of the planning was Weiner, Anthony Weiner. Everybody thinks Anthony Weiner's a dummy. Good cover. He got brought in right from the beginning with Ahud Barak. from the very first day. And now I don't think he brought in these guys from Inter-American, Imran and company.
Sure.
Inter-American was already providing kind of like spies in Congress for Bush, but the Democrats really getting involved in that really didn't start till '99 with Ehud Barak and Anthony Weiner. And
Understood.
They just got more sophisticated over time. And as Jason mentioned, Imran and his brother are sophisticated, very sophisticated, as are the two wives. He's obviously a satellite expert, and
wow.
Suparco, and then Soraya Begum. What about her? Soraya Begum, her mom is a satellite expert. She was the interior minister of Bangladesh, and then you've got Natalia Sova, who is an expert with the money laundering for Ukrainian money laundering. So it really is an incredible team. And I don't know how reporters are missing this. All they have to do is look at their intelligence background.
George, it's willful ignorance. It doesn't, you know why they're ignoring it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they're threatened. I mean, members of Congress are threatened, blackmailed. I guess the press is just scared out of their brains right now.
How do you keep someone from ratting on you?
From doing what?
How do you keep someone from
yeah.
ratting on you? Make it very clear that you'll take them down with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's how. And you've been saying this since day one. The way these people are controlled is through mutual blackmail.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, but my main question, looping back around here, why is it that your names are coming out of the mouths of high-level HSBC officials?
Well, that's why we called you. We wanted to know the answer to that. That's a really good sign, actually. You know, I know this sounds crazy, but my father-in-law was a bomber, a navigator on these B-24 bombers.
Right.
And he wouldn't feel comfortable until they start taking a lot of flack. If they just took a little bit of flack and had a little bit of fighter action, he was like, did I do something wrong here with my navigation?
Right.
We're over, we're over Dusseldorf right now. We should be getting shot we should be hearing flack about every 3 or 4 a second.
I will tell you guys, Jason and George, the one thing that I did find kind of off-putting about that exchange that I heard out of sort of my peripheral hearing, if you will, as the conversation was happening, as the room started to clear out between this guy and this woman from HSBC, he didn't just refer to you as George Webb, like she might have been a fan on YouTube and she might have been subscribed. She referred to you by all 3 names.
Yeah.
She said, have you heard of George Webb Swiger? And that's when my jaw just about hit the floor.
Well, like I said, I guess deep Brunswick, if you don't turn, if you run and run and run, they just shoot you while you're running away from them.
Right.
You gotta at some point turn and face it. And it's, there's a Kennedy headshot here for somebody and not us.
Wow.
It's not going to be. It's
no. I know it's hyperbole. I get it, but
yeah,
the image
it's got to happen. But you got to show the way. I look at it back this way. The guys that used to bear the flag, the flag bearers in the Civil War, they knew they were going to get shot. That's the first person they tried to shoot. But
and then you pick the flag up right as it hit the ground.
That's exactly right. It was an honor to carry that flag up that hill. And so they used to have fights in the Union Army. They had fights over who would carry the flag up a hill, knowing that you'd be killed, or wounded. So that's how I look at it. Am I any braver than those guys? I don't think so. And I figure Jason's going to have a chance, 3 or 4 seconds to get down and film it and then get out. So
right.
Yeah, live stream the Kennedy assassination. But then hopefully they'll just go, Trish is, she's. We'll have her on Skype. She'll be safe. Yeah, she'll be safe.
Well, she's
anyway,
expressed a lot of bravery.
We'll play. none of this stuff is so sophisticated. You know, everything we've seen, like with that we've seen so far, is usually very lightly done with less preparation than a third grade school play. What is that?
Sure. And I know there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that you're not exactly at liberty to discuss with the community.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes me worry about your well-being. And you know, if we need to maybe crowdfund some security for you guys, I would be happy to. I just
don't want to have guns around us. Yeah.
I just want to have guns around you.
I mean, look at what the security did for RFK. Yeah. You know, it didn't really work out. We appreciate it tremendously, Brunswick, but.
Well, listen, let me tell you guys something real quick. Just a little bit of insight that I had. Ever since the Yawan story broke, and you guys have kind of had this widespread vindication, I think that your life is your best insurance policy at this point.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's what Bill Colby told John DeCamp. He said, John DeCamp said he broke the Franklin scandal. He said, how do I live out of this? How do I survive? He goes, John, write a book. And then Colby, of course, was dead 3 weeks later from a canoe accident. Right. But see, the thing is, writing a book is going to take too long. I mean, that's right. If George or I were to be murdered right now, I think it would be, of all the people that have been murdered, whether you're talking about, Michael Hastings or Vince Foster or, John Kennedy, not that we are anywhere near the stature of these individuals.
No, but journalistically, you guys are right up there.
Would not stand for it. Yeah, I mean, Gary Webb kind of died in obscurity from kind of a low-intensity program, and so did Michael Rupert, because the internet didn't exist.
Be careful, George. That's a hero of mine.
Yeah. No, I know. That's a hero of mine for sure. So, and you know what's so funny about this whole thing is this is just a continuation of Iran-Contra. Yeah. Nothing ever changed. Just the names.
Hey, George.
Yeah.
People don't change. They get better.
That's right.
That's right. Exactly what it is.
They get better at what they do. Right. Well, listen, Brunswick, we really appreciate the info. If you hear anything more about HSBC, for sure, let us know. And, we're in regular communication, so that's a good thing.
I'll have my eyes open, Jason. George, thank you guys so much. Please be careful with everything you're doing. You guys are breaking ground, and I'm more than happy to help in any way that I can.
Thanks, Steve Brunswick. Thanks, Steve Brunswick. Yeah.
Take care, guys.